Man, it's pretty windy out today. It's freaking windy. Change the clock 1 hour forward for daylight savings time. So instead of 8:22, it would be 9:22 right now. Spring forward. Shorts, huh?
night to get it released, as the label did not believe it at all. And they had to sell out a little bit with the music video, which was sponsored by Papermate, one of the most obvious product placement videos ever. Papermate, man, that video. The song was a smash. Its autograph had a built-in pedigree for radio with its call to action and recorded versions for different stations. This was a band on fire, but they never had another hit. They're now remembered as a one-hit wonder, but you know, they kind of deserve better. They had some good stuff. But get this, the band's still going, but they actually don't have any original members anymore. It's a glam metal staple that feels perfectly stuck in the sound of 1984. I mean, it's dated, but it's so much fun to listen to. I love this song. I think the keyboard mixed in with the guitar is the culprit. Also, it was originally named Turn Up the Tape Machine, which really dated it. But the title was changed as cassette tapes were fading out, CDs were kind of taking over. It became a surprise hit despite being a last-minute addition to the album. It hit number 29 on the Billboard Hot 100 and number 17 on the mainstream rock chart. All right, for our number 7 placement on dated songs, we're going into the tropical part of 84 with a song that was deliciously dated by an artist and during an 8-year drought for a hit single in the U.S. It's about to break it big time. Caribbean Queen by Billy Ocean. Caribbean Queen was a big comeback tune for British-based Billy Ocean, who hadn't had a hit on the American singles chart for 8 years until this one hit. He actually had a mild hit in 1976 with Love Really Hurts Without You. Billy's comeback trip was almost derailed, though. The song was first released with a different title and a completely different hook. It was originally titled European Queen when it dropped in Europe, of course, but the single was a stifferoo. The shift to Caribbean Queen was suggested by an up-and-coming executive at Jive Records. He thought that changing the title to sound less stuffy and more exotic and exciting would turn it into a massive success, and his hunch was exactly correct. When Caribbean Queen clicked in the U.S., Billy Ocean and producer Keith Diamond, they actually had an idea to make regional versions for the rest of the world, kind of up in the charts. There was European Queen they'd already done for Europe, and African Queen for Africa, amongst others. Caribbean Queen, No More Love on the Run, a parentheses song. It has a very polished 84 vibe with sharp synth stabs and a driving bass that nods to Michael Jackson, Thriller era, you know, like Billie Jean. The track used early to mid-80s electronic drum sounds for a crisp digital rhythm that feels a bit more rigid next to the warmer tones that you would hear, you know, in later decades. And that sax solo by Vernon Jeffrey Smith is that classic, high, almost glittery 80s pop rock and R&B sound. Romantic, but, you know, heavily processed. All in all, Caribbean Queen captures the mid-80s style that's also semi-iconic in pop culture, like its association with Miami Vice. Caribbean Queen was a godsend for Billy Ocean, though. It rejuvenated his career and fascinated the imagination listeners around the world in 1984. It went to number 1 in a lot of countries, Guatemala, Canada, and of course here on the Billboard Hot 100. And it led to one of the biggest short-term hit runs in music history. Billy Ocean took the rest of the 80s by storm with 8 top 10 hits in a row. Just a few years, he had the 3 number 1s and 2 number 2s as well. We know them all by heart. All right, coming in at number 6, we've got The Happy Accident on the charts. A song that sounds very dated now, even though it made history back in 84, and we love it still. It's 99 Luftballons by Nina. Nina's 99 Luftballons was sparked actually by a Rolling Stone show in West Berlin. During the concert, guitarist Carlos Cargas watched balloons drift over the Berlin Wall into the East Berlin. You can picture what would happen if that innocent swarm was misread as a UFO or even as a nuclear attack. radar operators misidentifying the balloons, which would spark a scary chain reaction, ended up triggering a 99-year nuclear war. The concept also comes from a real-life prank from 1973 known as the Nevada incident, where students released 99 balloons to create a fake UFO sighting. The song is a blunt anti-war statement echoing the 1980s German fear of accidental nuclear annihilation. The original German lyrics tell a dark story about a world wrecked by a war lasting nearly a century, all started by something as simple as balloons. And it ends with a scavenger finding that one last balloon. After the German version was recorded, Nina's label, they didn't think it was commercial enough. I don't know how you would hear the song and not hear it was a hit. But the band felt strongly about its message, and they pushed to get it out there. But even more so, the label was dead set against releasing the song in America since the lyrics were in German. It was not going to come out. However, a happy accident would soon bring the song to the States, helping propel it to near worldwide domination through the airwaves. As the story goes, German actress and musician Christiane Felschernau was visiting DJ Rodney Bingenheimer on his K-Rock radio show in L.A. And for the interview, she brought with her a mixtape that included a song from her boyfriend's band. There was 99 Luftballons was on the other side. She intended to play the boyfriend's track. She got it ready, but she accidentally played the wrong side of the tape and it played Nina's song instead. Listeners loved it, and the phone lines were buzzing with requests. So from there on out, Bingenheimer threw it into heavy rotation, further increasing its popularity, and after that, 99 Luftballons took the U.S. by storm all the way up the charts. Although the title of the German-speaking version means 99 air balloons, they changed the English title to 99 red balloons. The 99 Luftballons defied industry norms by becoming a #1 hit in multiple countries, including Japan, Canada, and Mexico. And it did this in its original German form, not relying on the English-speaking translation. 99 Luftballons sounds dated, really because it embodies an essential early 80s new wave aesthetic with bright polyphonic synthesizer motifs and a brisk electronic beat that reflect pre-digital production typical of the Cold War era. Its lyrics centered on paranoia about nuclear war makes it even more of a defining 80s classic and a timeless staple. And really the English version kind of sucked. The German version was the one that we all cling to. We all know the words. All right, coming in number 5 on our 84 data countdown is really interesting novelty song with a really more interesting backstory of a singer who did not want to live in his legendary daddy's shadow. Talking about Somebody's Watching Me by Rockwell. Now Rockwell, the singer behind Somebody's Watching Me, was really Kennedy William Gordy, Barry Gordy's son, the famous founder of Motown Records. Rockwell, Kennedy, he really wanted to be a musician, but his dad was not impressed by his early demos, and he basically told him not to quit his day job. Barry told several family members, hey, my kid really can't sing. Now, determined to make it on his own without the power of his father pulling the strings, Kennedy used the pseudonym Rockwell, and he secretly signed a record deal with Motown, keeping it from his father. However, he did take full advantage of growing up in the Motown family of superstars, such as the Jackson 5. And when he wrote Somebody's Watching Me, he played it for Michael Jackson, apparently. And Michael liked the tune, and he agreed to sing the chorus. It's probably because he owed Barry a favor. Let's be clear, the only reason the song was a hit was because of Michael Jackson. He could have recorded himself burping the alphabet, and it would have been a #1 hit at that moment. That's how big Michael Jackson was. Michael's distinctive and vocal on the chorus went uncredited at the time, yet it was a well-known secret in the industry to anyone hearing the song. So additional background vocals were provided by Michael's older brother, Jermaine. Now, when Barry Gordy finally heard the mastered track, he immediately recognized the backing voice. Well, not really the backing voice, because he sings the main part. He was thrilled to hear the future king of pop, and with Michael's help and an assist by Jermaine, Somebody's Watching Me soared to #2 on the Billboard Hot 100, just like one of those great Jackson 5 songs from the 70s. But not really. But But get this, Rockwell used a deliberately fake British accent in Somebody's Watching Me, including the line about being afraid to wash my hair, mainly to forge a distinct career identity and distance himself from nepotism. In interviews, he even claimed to be from England. The accent, described by some as a bizarrely old English-sounding drawl or a weak Boris Karloff impersonation, that enhanced the song's theatrical, paranoid, and subtly tongue-in-cheek vibe. Somebody's Watching Me epitomizes early 80s production, driven by synths like the Roland Jupiter 8 and sparse Oberheim DMX drum machine, and its robotic paranoid synth hook, its minimalist funk bass line, and backing vocals that unmistakably recall Michael Jackson in his prime, give it a distinctly era-specific sound. It's one of those songs that's so bad it's good, and what makes it good is, of course, Michael Jackson's vocals. Maybe I'm being too hard on that. I apologize. There's people that probably really like that song. All right, one of the most memorable hooks from 1984, this also wonderfully dated, is our number 4 song, a true classic, Sunglasses at Night by Corey Hart. Sunglasses at Night came about kind of out of practical need during a recording session in England. The freezing air from the AC vents kept blowing smack dab into the crew's faces, so sunglasses became a necessity to wear indoors. In the early spring of '83, Corey Hart was a wide-eyed 19-year-old from Montreal recording in a studio near Manchester. By late May, just before his 20th birthday, he finally held a cassette in his hands, the finished take of 11 original songs that would become his debut album, which was called First Offense. But the label asked for just one more track, track 12 as it were, which turned out to be Sunglasses at Night. It wasn't written yet, but the idea was already simmering in Corey's head. It rained almost every day of those UK sessions. Corey had a pair of Ray-Ban sunglasses with him, but he never actually got a chance to wear them. In the summer of '83, Corey's album was handed over to Capitol Records, and everyone seemed happy with how it turned out. He was a writing magnet back then, so ideas kept coming even after he was done recording. And he said, I started riffing on a melodic line in a phrase I called "My Cigarette Got Wet." It's kind of ironic because, Corey had never smoked in his life. That little demo for "My Cigarette Got Wet" carried a lot of the musical DNA of Sunglasses. It was recorded, though Corey wasn't sold on the song at the time. This is where the Ray-Bans come in. As co-producer Phil Chapman recalls, the studio's air conditioning blew directly into the mixing console. When Corey walked in and felt it, he actually finally got to put his sunglasses on after it rained for a month. He put them on for protection. In the thick of it, he started improvising the famous chorus, I wear my sunglasses at night. It became a smash, going to number 7. Many still think that Corey's a one-hit wonder, even though he had 8 more hits after that. And one that was even bigger with Never Surrender. The power of Sunglasses at Night, I guess it was just so powerful that people forgot the other 8. But it has that synth-pop vibe, that big dance tempo, and moody, dramatic vocals. And that's what makes it 1984. Next up on our 1984 dated episode, the spotlight turns to a song that had a resurgence in 2020 because of TikTok. At number 3, I got Break My Stride by Matthew Wilder. This one's a story of sweet vindication.
No, not today, man.
That was the battle cry for Matthew Wilder after his song was snubbed by his record.
Possibly next Friday.
The A&R executive told Matthew and his collaborator at the time, Greg Prestopino, that this song was dreadful, that it was horrible. So Matthew and Greg took matters into their own hands, and they fully financed the making of the record themselves. And then they took it to a different label, and that label loved the song.
All right, hold on a second. I'll be right back. Oh, we got some type of event here at MacArthur Park. You going down there Monday? All right, man. You gonna go to Hong Kong and all those places? Nice.
Then turn left onto South Alvarado Street.
All these palm branches are going to be flat all over the place. There's the wind. This guy's going the wrong
way. When Break My Stride came out, the same executive who passed on the demo didn't realize the lyrics were aimed right at him. And he later came around to love the song. Funny how that happens. Plenty of tracks, that we all haven't cared for, and they might grow on us as time goes by. I mean, can't really fault the A&R guy for not liking it, but he didn't have to say it was dreadful. Anyway, there was actually a glitch during the recording of Break My Stride that ended up making the song even more beloved, though. The infectious offbeat pulse, that came from a drum machine malfunction. But Matthew and his producers said, you know what, screw it. They decided to keep it in. It was a great call. So Break My Stride relied heavily on the synth technology of the early 80s, delivering a bright, Thomasy wasp sound typical of that period and comparable to other hits from the era. Definitely sounds like it came right out of 84. But what's interesting is that Matthew Wilder eventually became a producer, and his biggest success as a producer was with the Tragic Kingdom album by No Doubt. The one that features Just a Girl. It sounds very much like the same vibe that Matthew delivered in 84 on Break My Stride. Despite sounding like flashback production, the song was a mega hit and catapulted Gwen Stefani into superstardom. Honestly, regardless of how dated Break My Stride sounded, that vocal chorus is pretty timeless. And it hit number 5, by the way. 1984 was full of great soundtrack songs. One of those was a data track that was as infectious as a pop song could ever get. And number 2, I got one of my favorite songs ever, a song that epitomizes 1984. It sends me back every time I hear it. I Can Dream About You by Dan Harmon. In the 84 film Streets of Fire, a fictional R&B group called the Sorrels, led by actor Stoney Jackson, performed I Can Dream About You. Although the actors lip-synced on screen, the singing voice in the film was Winston Ford, who at the time worked at a Radio Shack store. Amid the film's posturing, Dan Hartman, the song's writer, he later released his own version as the official single and soundtrack recording, replacing Ford's vocals to secure higher royalties and dramatically improve the sound, in my opinion. Because the music video used clips of the film's actors, many viewers assumed that Stoney Jackson was the actual vocalist, so it confused a lot of people. Dan Harmon originally intended the song to be for Daryl Hall and John Oates, and I could totally hear him singing it. But they passed on it because they'd already finished their record. So he did his best impersonation of them, true story, and it became a number 6 hit on the Billboard Hot 100. I Can Dream About You, I'm telling you, one of my favorite songs of 84, like I said, but I gotta say, it does sound dated. The track was expertly engineered for radio with a sleek, highly compressed mix that diminished, natural, edgy textures, giving it that distinct 84 feel, which is not a bad thing. It embodies the mid-80s blue-eyed soul aesthetic, an upbeat, pop-driven Hook's first composition in the vein of Daryl Hall and John Oates, which, of course, explains why Dan thought it would be a great song for them to record. And Daryl Hall and John Oates loved his version. All right, for my honorable mention and my number 1 pick, I got 2 songs for each of these because they're a bit related. You'll see what I mean in a second. So they're going to be presented a bit differently. I'm going to begin with the honorable mention in 2 songs that were huge hits in 84 but sounded eerily similar, leading to allegations of plagiarism. Let's do it back to back. side-by-side analysis of I Want a New Drug by Huey Lewis and the News and Ghostbusters by Ray Parker Jr. So Huey Lewis came up with a song in his head as he was driving to his lawyer's office. He had this great song in his head, and he was afraid he was going to forget it, but he couldn't pull over and write it down because he had no pen. So as soon as he got to his lawyer's office, he ran and he's like, "Give me a pen," and he wrote it down really quick. The band initially struggled to make the song groove. That is until they slightly increased the tempo in the studio, and that worked like a charm. As for the drug metaphor, Huey said the track is really a love song, not a celebration of drugs. The new drug signifies a fresh romance and delivers the same thrill and euphoria as a substance without the side effects. While working on a track that was supposed to be the theme song for the movie Ghostbusters, though, a desperate Ray Parker Jr. was up late watching TV one night when a local service commercial gave him the idea to add an style jingle to the movie. Ray initially had a hard time making the word Ghostbusters fit smoothly in the draft of the song, and that's what they wanted. Nothing really rhymes with Ghostbusters. Then the "Who You Gonna Call" line from the TV spot came in handy, and it created a natural call and response that finally unlocked those lyrics and made the song great.
Something strange in the neighborhood.
Now, Huey Lewis and the News released I Want a New Drug in January of '84, climbed to number 6 on the Billboard Hot 100, also went to number 1 on the dance charts. In June of '84, Ray Parker Jr.'s theme for Ghostbusters came out, and it was one of the biggest singles of the year, rambling to number 1 in 10 countries, including Canada, and here on the Billboard Hot 100. It was also determined that the theme song added an additional $20 million to the box office gross of the Ghostbusters movie, so it was huge. But the success of Ray Parker's tune came under scrutiny because his melody sounded exactly like the melody of I Want a New Drug. Huey and the News argued that the Ghostbusters theme copied their work on I Want a New Drug, even though Ray denied ripping off the song. The case was settled out of court in 1985 for an undisclosed sum, with the dispute focusing on similarities in the bass line and the melody. You know, it's really hard to imagine that Ray Parker wasn't inspired by Huey's tune. The music sounds identical to me. What do you think? Tell me in the comments. It later emerged that the filmmakers had used I Want a New Drug as temp music in Ghostbusters, and they'd given the track to Ray Parker Jr. as a reference, so there was indeed validity to the claim by Huey and the News. Both sides settled, though, and while the exact terms were private, the case was considered a win for Parker in 2001 when he sued for breach of contract because Huey broke the confidentiality of the case on a program, so in turn he had to give some of the money back to Ray. Come on, to me, it's a ripoff, plain and simple. That's what it sounds like to me, in my opinion. Our next back-to-back analysis for 1984, Undated, is my number 1 pick for this edition, and it's a study of 2 songs by 2 different groups that have 3 things in common. 1, they were both smash hits that the respective acts originally rejected. 2, they both have the word "jump" in the song title. And 3, they both sound really dated, like they're trapped in '84. Talking about "Jump for My Love" by the Pointer Sisters. And "Jump" by Van Halen. The Pointer Sisters initially disliked "Jump for My Love," believing it was too pop-oriented, lacking the soulful R&B depth that they preferred. They just didn't dig it. They didn't want to record it at all. The ladies were skeptical of its upbeat synth-driven sound and worried it would be too bubblegum to their core fans. They were persuaded to go ahead by their producer, Richard Perry, who had significant influence on the sisters and an impeccable track record as a producer. Yeah, the Pointer Sisters' "Jump" song is this high-energy pop R&B track that runs on lush, punchy synth brass. It's all about a bright, romantic, upbeat vibe. Although heavily synthesized, Van Halen's "Jump" flips the script with a synth rock arena roar, built around a chunky Oberheim OBX riff and a rock guitar solo with lyrics about seizing the moment. Both songs blew up big, and the the same era, surrounded by the prevalent synthesizer sound in 1984. Jump for My Love was a pop dance staple from that year, while Van Halen nudged the band toward a more mainstream synth-driven sound after Eddie became fascinated with synthesizers and all that they could do, much to the chagrin of his frontman Diamond Dave Lee Roth. Eddie crafted the signature synthesizer riff for Jump as early as 1981, but the rest of the band, especially Diamond Dave, rejected it. Dave argued that as a guitar hero, Eddie shouldn't be playing keyboards at all, believing it would make the group look like they were bowing to a pop synth trend or just selling out altogether. So when told that he shouldn't play keys, Eddie Van Halen famously replied that if he wanted to play a tuba or Bavarian cheese whistle, he'd do it anyway. He's going to do whatever the hell he wanted. Now, the lyrics of Jump, those came from a very sinister place. David Lee Roth recalled watching a news report the previous evening about a man threatening to end his life by leaping from the top of the Arco Tower in Los Angeles. In an interview with Ultimate Classic Rock, he actually recalled this, saying, there was a whole crowd of people in the parking lot downstairs yelling, "Don't jump, don't jump, don't jump." That gave me the idea of Jump for the title. I wrote it down and it made it onto the record, although in a much more positive vein. It's easy to translate it to the way you hear it on the record as a go-for-it attitude, a much more positive sort of affair. So Diamond Dave was watching this guy and he made the opposite of this, might as well jump. Damn, that's gold. As for Jump for My Love, it performed exactly as Richard Perry predicted it would. It was one of the biggest hits for the Pointer Sisters, going all the way to number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100. That whole period of the 80s was just red hot for June, Anita, and Ruth Pointer. Meanwhile, Van Halen had their biggest hit single with Jump as their lone number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. You know, the synthesizer ruled the airwaves in 84, and that sound propelled many of these songs to greatness. But it also makes a lot of these songs sound dated, of their time instead of timeless. As emblematic as my favorite year of music, 1984. But again, it's a compliment. To be of the time, it's a time machine that transports you right back to that wonderful year of 84. Leave us a comment about what other songs from 1984 sound dated. What's a song that takes you right back to 84 and more than any other? Let's talk about that below. What are your memories of these songs? If you like our content, we invite you to subscribe. We'd love to have you as part of our community. I really like this dated show. First one didn't do well because, of course, you know, it got buried by you-know-who. All the numbers were there. People liked it, got great feedback on it, but it just got buried. Hopefully this one doesn't. I would love to get your take on this because I'd love to make this a regular show. Let me know in the comments if you think that should be. If not, we'll do something else, but I'd like to keep doing it. Until next time, 3 chords. Yeah, the truth, my friends.
When you watch a movie that doesn't have any of that woke garbage in it, everybody loves it. Like, look at Top Gun, it's an amazing movie. Look at F1, it's a great film.
We're in America, we've come to the celebration party for Ken Paxton, hopefully, that he wins, and bumped into a British lad from West Brom.
Yep.
West Brom, working class lads.
Yep, absolutely.
You was in Coronation Street?
I was, yeah.
Rambo?
Yeah.
What other films?
Black Hawk Down, Resident Evil.
You moved to America when?
I moved here permanently around 2003. Yeah.
Why did you move here? Just for work?
Yeah, it was just for work initially.
Can I ask, because there's a story behind this. We hear a lot about cancel culture, especially in the arts industry.
Yeah.
Tell us what you experienced.
So after I did Rambo and Transformers, I went to gathering of people that were raising money for films in that particular instance. And when I came out, there was a journalist there, and I basically let's just put it like this, there was an article written in the Huffington Post that basically damaged my career massively. And then, of course, years later I came out and I said that I was against the tyranny of the lockdowns and everything, and that was like my second cancellation. So.
The first cancellation, what was the allegation? What was it that damaged your career? What were the Huffington Post, what did they run about you?
It was basically saying I was conservative. That's it.
So, the Huffington Post, you're at an event, I guess this was a Conservative event?
It was, yeah.
So you've gone to a Conservative event as an actor, you've been photographed by the Huffington Post, they've run a story. What's the knock-on fallout from that moment? What happened? With regards to work, management?
Yeah, it really damaged my career, and over the next couple of years I lost my representation, and it just became very, very difficult for me to get work.
How does that work if we're visually looking at it? Do you lose your agent? Do you have an agent? Do you have a manager? Do they drop you? What's the process?
Yeah, basically that. Like, my manager basically said that, I don't feel like I'm working hard enough for you, and then, you lose your agent because clearly, you're not getting work, so the phone stops ringing. You know what I mean? So,
this was literally, was it like a tap just being turned off?
Yeah, I mean...
From that moment?
Yeah, because the funny thing is you can look at the movies I did up until that point, so it's not like, people now like to go, oh, it's because you're a terrible actor, and,
but top movies in the world.
Yeah, I did Anacondas. It was the number 2 movie in the world. Black Hawk Down won 2 Oscars. So you didn't all of a sudden become bad. But that was, you started seeing, especially in the late 2000s, the prejudice towards conservatives in Hollywood, and now everybody knows about it, but I was just one of the first ones to get it.
And how many other conservatives were there in Hollywood? Is there like an underlying silence from the conservatives? Are people ashamed, scared to say the conservatives, but there are conservatives there?
Yeah, they are scared. I think if you're too big to fail, like kind of thing, if you're Mel Gibson, for example, was a giant star for 30 years, you don't fail then, right? So, but the younger ones, and this is what's
Hollywood still outcasted Mel Gibson, do they?
Well, I think that they need Mel more than he needs them. He's a genius, right? He's a director. He's an amazing actor, but he's an even better director. So, when you look at that, when you see the conservatives come out, you can't. If you can name me a conservative actor under the age of 40, like, good luck. Nobody will say anything. They will not come out. They won't say anything because they know that the phone will stop ringing.
And that's like we hear the land of the free again, America, where you can speak your mind. So there's a whole entire industry where people have to self-censor their beliefs.
100%, yeah. They're the least tolerant bunch of tolerant people you could ever meet.
Do you think the Huffington Post article? Do you think that was used? Do you think it was used like a weapon against you to set an example of conservatives? Because what was the actual story? He's conservative.
It basically said that I was hiding my right-wing political views. And, when you say right-wing, you're like, that's it. It's over. But all I did, by the way, was turn up. And I was going there. You
didn't give a speech?
No, I wasn't even political then. I just turned up to help people raise money for movies. And it was for family-friendly movies. And they ran this article, and it was just massively damaging to me.
Wow. Talk to me about COVID. What happened during COVID?
Well,
there's not many people spoke out.
No, they didn't. They didn't. But I thought that it was... Let's put it like this. I got COVID, right? And like most people, you get COVID, and then, or like if you get the flu, you don't need a flu shot because you've already had it, right? So you have natural immunity. So as far as I was concerned, I had natural immunity for COVID. And then when they started saying, no, you've still got to take the vaccine. And by the way, your kids who are asymptomatic, they've got to get a vaccine. I was like, hang on a minute, there's something like seriously shady going on. And then the masks that they were wearing it was basically like telling a mosquito not to go through a chain link fence, right? Like, it was clearly ridiculous. And then the infringement on people's rights, and I'm from the UK, right, even though I'm an American citizen, so I watch over there very keenly. I've been watching what you've been doing over the years, and you watch it and you can see the freedom's being eroded over and over and over again, and this step there, this step there, this step there, and before you know it, yeah, it's the death by 1,000 cuts, right? And I see it from the outside looking in, looking back at, it's almost like time stopped for me. You know, it stopped for me when I left the country. So when I go back and I see how much it's changed, it's really dramatic for me. It's not like, you know, the boiling of the frog. So for me that happened, and then again there was another article written about me, and they were like, you know, Marsden's a COVID conspiracist, or is it conspiracist?
Did you use your social media to speak out? Did you do an interview? Did you do a video? What did you do?
I spoke out on social media, and I just said, you know, people should have the choice whether or not they should have a vaccine or not. And of course I got called, you know, you're a granny killer, you know, what are you, a doctor, and all this ridiculousness. I'm like, look, I don't have to be a meteorologist to know that it's raining. I can just stick my hand outside and know that it's raining, or know that the sun's up. You know, the way that people used the argument from authority was disastrous. And I don't think people ever trust authority figures ever again because of that, what happened under COVID, and especially in the UK, when they stop people from seeing their dying relatives, all for a bullshit cause. I mean, it was all ridiculous.
But it's been proven. Well, do you feel vindicated where we're at now compared to where we were?
Yeah, I do, but those people, and they never admit they're wrong. That's the problem. It's more important for them not to be wrong than it is for them to follow the truth, and it's a massive problem. I mean, you know that, you've been experiencing it, right? They just perpetuate. Again, this is it's a psychological ploy that what they do is they just keep repeating something, and then people will point to it, especially in social media. It's a nightmare. They'll point to it and say, look, there's the truth, and it's not the truth. It's just they're repeating this thing over and over and again, and they're making it happen. So
you got cancelled for being a conservative, pretty much. You then got a lot of big backlash for speaking out on the COVID and vaccines, which respect to you, because not many people did, least of all people who had any sort of platform. You're now at a Republican event for Ken Paxton. Have you had much support within the conservative circles?
I have, yeah. I mean, not from the entertainment industry, from people who are conservative in the entertainment industry. They're a nightmare. Like, they will absolutely slit your throats, right? It's a disaster. But politically, yeah, you know, I think that you come to Texas, which I always say, like...
Where did you bring yourself to when you moved to America? Which city?
LA.
Okay, you went to LA.
Yeah.
Now you're in Texas.
Yeah, and I left there about 5 years ago. I just couldn't take it anymore. Like the industry, all I wanted to do as an actor was just to entertain people. I just wanted to do movies, go out there, ply my trade. I didn't want to get into any politics. That wasn't my thing. And like most people say, you know, I was like this. Actors, just go and do your job, right? I think that if you speak out, then it can tarnish your image and ruin the experience for people when they're watching movies. But they mess with me first.
You didn't even speak out. It's not like you've gone and gone. You've not joined. You've not done anything.
I didn't do anything.
You didn't speak.
I literally
still got hammered.
Yeah. So for me, it's been great coming to Texas, because they appreciate you if you, and you know all about this, if you come to America and you embrace the culture, which I did. Like I say, I'm an American. I've got cowboy boots on. You know, I
Crocodile skin ones.
I fully embrace the culture, and that's what people want when you come to their country, and you respect their traditions. And I didn't want to come to this country and see what's happening in the UK when people are coming there and they're saying this place is a shithole, we've got to change it to the hellhole that we just came from. I don't believe in that whatsoever. You've got to be committed. If you're a guest in that country and you have the privilege to come to that country, then you should adhere to the culture of that country. And that's it. It was very simple to me. And Texas is the most American of any of the American states or cities, I believe.
You followed this election?
Yeah.
This election seems to me, from outside in, this seems like it's been a bit of a referendum.
Yeah.
Ken Paxton on the importing of another culture and identity that's gaining power in Texas, and people seem to be scared by it.
It's a big problem. I mean, I wouldn't say that they're scared as much as they're aware. And I think Texans, you know, for the longest time, it's like anywhere, you know, Texans for the longest time have just kind of been okay